Hey guys, welcome in to 30 Books in 30 Weeks. We are in week 5 already. We started this journey in January at the very beginning of the year. We are in week 5 of our 30 Books in 30 Weeks series. And so this week's reading is from this gem here, Boundaries. So as you guys come in, I would encourage you, if you wouldn't mind, to share this out, invite some people in to join us in the conversation as we talk about the important subject of establishing boundaries, setting boundaries, how they help our relationships. What's going on, Arthur? Hey, Baron. So, for those of you who may be joining in for the very first time who don't really know who I am, aren't familiar with what I do, my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, and I am a trauma recovery and success coach. And I have a company called Bankable Success Advisors, which is a leading recovery solutions provider. I work with businesses and individuals to help them optimize their personal time, emotional, and energy investments to yield the best return for the investments that they make. And the thing that I'm most excited about is 2018 really raising the bar and working with 1,000 amazing women, 1,000 rising stars as they learn how to discover and then embrace what I call their star power. And by embracing their star power, truly being able to not only let their own light shine, but to be able to be the spark for someone else. And it's just such an amazing feeling. I just want to share that with everyone. So you guys participating in this 30 Books in 30 Weeks personal development series is tremendous contribution. Thank you for walking with me on the mission to serve these 1,000 women in 2018 and truly raise the bar on love, life, and relationships. That's what we're all about. So tonight's subject matter is actually about boundaries, and that's going to be the book that we focus on this week. And as many of you know, one of the things that I do with this process is to take one book each week, and sorry, I'm logging in back on my computer. Take one book each week and really take a deep dive into the subject matter. And last week, we talked about codependency, and I shared with you at the end of the week that if I could give you one tool to help heal and recover from codependency, it would be the ability to set healthy personal boundaries. And I titled this Invisible Property Lines because that's kind of what boundaries really are. They are like a property line on a house. So if you think about your yards and your neighborhood, and if you don't have fences up, you don't know where the property lines are. If you don't, they're invisible. Nobody knows where one person's property starts and one person's property ends. And boundaries is a way to communicate to the world and to people who are in your lives where your property lines start and end, where who you are begins. And it's conceptually sounds very easy to do. Setting boundaries sounds very easy to do. Upholding them for most people is very difficult. And it's difficult because the boundaries are there to support your journey, support your happiness, support your health and your healing and your wellness and your lives and all those things. But sometimes when we set boundaries for ourselves, hey Joy, hey Bill, when we set boundaries for ourselves, it's scary because our boundaries impact other people. And so like when I call them the invisible property lines, and I think of how you indicate by putting up a fence. So they survey the land, they put up the fence, and now your neighbor knows this is where their yard is, and on the other side of the fence is where your yard is. In the middle of the fence, however, the leaves can blow back and forth, right? If there's animals in the yard, they can run back and forth. Energy flows back and forth, air flows back and forth, oxygen flows back and forth. through the fence. If you build up a wall on that same property line, everything on this side of the line stays on this side, and everything on that side stays on that side. Boundaries are the invisible fences. They are the invisible property line for, in my case, I use them to protect my happiness. I use them to protect my time. And so as we talk about managing our personal investments of time and energy and things like that, and if those of you who follow me know, I'm always talking about you teach people how to be in relation with you. Boundaries teach people what the standard is. You can't expect someone to uphold a certain standard that they don't know exists. You can't expect them to deliver on a service expectation that they didn't know exists. They're going to do the best they have with what they have, and more than likely they're going to do for you what they've always done for everyone, which may or may not work for you. It may or may not fit into your lifestyle. So your boundaries is what teaches them, like, okay, I understand you worked that way with that person and you worked that way with that person. That's not going to work with me. But that's a frightening thing when you start establishing these boundaries to protect your interests, because then the people who are on the other side of that boundary, on the other side of that fence, start feeling some kind of way. So I know when I was in Iowa, I remember putting up a fence in my yard, and I put it up because of the neighbors constantly putting things in my yard, trying to park their car in my yard, things like that. So we put up a fence, and it was to protect my property, my investment. That's what I put the fence up for. But my neighbor got uber offended by it. Like, oh, you know, she was all outraged, and she just thought that was just the worst thing, and it was offensive, and it was unneighborly like, and blah, 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 blah. But guess what? She stopped throwing stuff in my yard. She stopped trying to park her car in my yard. She stopped all those behaviors. And eventually even her griping and complaining stopped, because it didn't faze me. I set up the boundary that I needed to protect my investment, which was my home, my yard, my property, and my sanity, right? That's what boundaries are. It's the exact same thing, but it's to protect your emotions, your energy, your happiness, your relationships, and just to let people know this is where I begin, this is where I end. And if you come on this side of the boundary, there's a certain set of expectations that apply. You can do you on the other side of that boundary all you want. If you come on this side, I got some expectations for you. So make sure you guys stay tuned all this week as we really dive into this topic. This is just kind of to give you a little bit of a teaser, why boundaries are important, what they're used for, and then for the rest of this week, we're going to take a deep dive for the next 6 days on truly how to set boundaries, what they mean, how do you defend them, why are people threatened by them. We're going to talk through all of that stuff, okay? All right, so 30 books in 30 weeks. This week's selection, if you guys are reading along, the book's called Boundaries. It's by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. This book was one of my go-tos when I had to learn to better manage personal relationships in my life, because I was an accommodator. Remember I shared last week, I was heavily codependent for years and years and years and years and years. And I didn't get over my codependency until I learned how to set and uphold my boundaries. So that's what we're talking about this week. So I hope you guys stay tuned, stay joined in, share the videos out. If you missed any of them or you want to go back and check them out, they're all on my YouTube channel. The link is in the title of this video. And they're also on my LinkedIn, or you can scroll back through Facebook. But y'all know, I'm all over the internet. So in the meantime and in between time, guys, as always, I thank you for joining me. I thank you for participating. And most of all, I thank you for living life on Mars. I'll talk to you soon.